What's happening, guys? This is Nagpal for iGyaan, and today we're going to be talking about the new Nexus 5. Now, the Nexus 5 was announced quite a while back by Google globally, and it was launched in India on the 20th of November. Now, we only had this device for a couple of days. Actually, it's been just about 10 to 15 days. And we feel that it's time for a review. So let's start off with build quality, and then we'll move along as we skip through the paces. So Nexus 5 is now purely plastic, and it's definitely better built than the Nexus 4. The design of the Nexus 5 also makes it bottom heavy, so when it falls down, it usually falls on its back. That also prevents the front from getting damaged, as we saw when our Nexus 5 took a dip from our balcony, first floor to the ground floor, about a 15-20 foot drop, landed on its back and ended up with zero scratches and almost zero damage. So we're pretty impressed with the way the Nexus 5 is built, and it is a sturdy device and it should last you a fairly long time. In terms of design, we are quite happy with the way the Nexus 5 has been designed. Now, although the Nexus 4 was a lot more premium looking to us, the Nexus 5 is slightly more exciting with its big bold Nexus branding in the back. The matte white color is exceptionally nice to look at, and the big unnecessary camera lens is also sort of a style statement or a design statement, more or less. The Nexus logo and the LG logo are embedded in clear plastics in the back of the device, and they look really nice. The front of the device looks very premium. It takes on from the LG G2, the almost edge-to-edge display, so it almost looks like you're holding just a bit of display in your hand. Although the bezels, the top and bottom bezels on the Nexus 5 are slightly bigger than the ones we saw on the G2. Now, the Nexus 5 definitely stands out, and it also catches a bunch of eyes. In terms of eye candy, it always grabs attention. So the Nexus is a unique product. It's not easily available in India. And if you're the kinds who likes to grab attention with their smartphones, the Nexus 5 is quite a conversation starter. So within the Nexus 5 is a set of hardware that takes out most of the rivals from the higher end market. So under the 30,000 or in the 30,000 price bracket, this is probably the only phone that comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 chipset that runs at 2.3 GHz on quad cores. You also have the Adreno 330 GPU, and on the inside you have 16 and 32 GB storage capacities, 2 GB of RAM, and you also have an 8 megapixel main camera along with a 1.3 megapixel front camera. The camera on the back is like the camera on the G2, and you do have optical image stabilization, so that's good. So you get decent quality video, and it also does a decent job of shooting video up close. Now on the front you have a 4.95 inch, approximately 5 inch display. That's 1920 by 1080 pixels. So that's a full HD display, and it is a true IPS HD display. So that means that it is a display made by LG as well, and it is one of the better displays. You have great viewing angles, great outdoor visibility. You won't be disappointed with this display. The front has Corning Gorilla Glass 3, so the added toughened protection definitely can take a lot of damage. But that doesn't mean that you put this device through the paces. It means that in your day-to-day usage, it'll actually provide to be fairly damage resistant. Now it weighs in at a hefty 130 grams. It's not the lightest device that you have out there, but it's fairly pocketable, easy to carry around, not a lot in terms of weight. Now the Nexus 5 runs on Android 4.4, also known as Android KitKat, which brings about a lot of changes to the Android ecosystem, but also retains some of the basic capabilities of Android. A set of basic changes: you only get home screens as in when you populate them, so the rest of the time you don't have blank home pages as you did in previous versions of Android. Your messages and your chat windows are now consolidated into something called Hangouts, and so if you have a Google Plus account, you're chatting with your Google Plus friends. You also get your SMS messages within this Hangouts. So almost something like what Apple does with iMessage. This does that to another level, but it also lets you add multiple accounts and sort of chat with multiple friends. So Hangouts is like a consolidated messaging service, sort of trying to put an end to WhatsApp and all those that have been going around. Another important feature for KitKat is that when your phone is unlocked, all you need to do is say out "OK Google" to pull out Google Now search, and then you can use your voice to initiate commands for Google Now. So this is a new feature that allows you to activate Google search with your voice as well. Now, in terms of performance, the Nexus 5 cannot be beat. You have a pure Android experience, so you don't have any UI add-ons. You have only the pure elemental stuff that Google wanted you to have. And that actually makes the Android experience a lot better. So using the phone day to day and in 10 days of installing applications, deleting applications, downloading files, uploading files, we saw little or no lag on the device, and that's simply because it's running pure, unadulterated Android. There is no caching issues, there is no RAM mismanagement. It runs purely on Android and it works really, really well. Another advantage of running pure Android directly from Google is the fact that when Google pushes out an update, you get that update. So with the latest device, you're the first guys to get an update. So if you're banging on a Nexus 5 or if you're bringing along a Nexus 5 in your pocket, you're also bringing along the latest version of Android. So you're probably one of those guys who gets the instant update to whatever the next version of Android is going to be. Now, the Nexus 5 also, thanks to its hardware, is one of the best performance devices. It also does a fantastic job of gaming. So all sorts of games will run beautifully on this device and it works really well. So you'll be enjoying your content. The display is fantastic. You'll be enjoying reading. You'll be enjoying viewing websites, browsing through content, reading ebooks, and even playing games on this 5-inch gorgeous display. Again, it's not the biggest display that you can find on an Android device, but it is a crisp 445 pixel per inch display and it works really well and it solves all your purposes. So more or less, you can enjoy a lot of things on this display. Now, the camera is not the best camera that we've seen on Android as well, but it is a fantastic camera. It's definitely much better than the camera that we saw on the Nexus 4. Focusing is slightly better. Colors are accurate and saturation is not over the top. So we get a good, well-balanced picture with accurate amount of sharpness, not too overly sharpened so that you can possibly edit it in post. But not a lot of people are doing professional photography with their phones. So if you're going to be Instagramming your pictures or if you're going to be uploading it to Facebook, it doesn't really matter, does it? But the picture quality is good and it's usable and it focuses really well. Even video is really good and you can focus on macro subjects. It does a good job. For those startup bloggers, you can even use this to make your videos. Now, as a phone, the device is fantastic. You get great networks throughout. It also has active noise cancellation and it has a secondary mic to do that. So you get your background noises cancelled out, and even so to an extent that if you're in a concert, it does a fantastic job of cancelling out audio. I wouldn't compare it to an iPhone 5S in terms of noise cancellation because that does a slightly better job of it. But the Nexus 5 does a pretty decent job of noise cancellation. Now, the battery is a 2300 milliamp hour battery and it gives you a good day's use. That being said, it's not a removable battery, it's a fixed battery. And just like with the Nexus 4, we can see the battery life degrading over time. I'm not too sure if this battery is going to hold up, but the way it seems to have been optimized, it seems that it'll last a long time with the battery life and it should sustain throughout. Another downside we feel with the Nexus 5 is the fact that you don't have expandable storage. If you get the 16GB version, you're likely to run out of space really soon. And Google does give you Google Drive storage of 15GB that you can add on to this, but is it something that you would really use in an Indian scenario? I don't think so. So keeping that in mind, a 32GB variant is possibly the best amongst the two. The 16GB variant is just a tad less with the amount of content people are carrying on their devices nowadays. And the price difference between the 16 and the 30GB is just minimal. So it would just be recommended to go for the 32GB variant if you can afford that one. Now, with everything in mind, there are a couple of downsides to the Nexus 5, especially for the Indian market. So you don't have dedicated service and support lines. Some people are running to LG, some people are catching up on Google. There was a big mismanagement of inventory when orders were placed with the Google Play Store, and everyone is all over the place not knowing where their orders are. So that is something that you tend to face with companies that are not on it and have not been on it. So if you speak to LG, LG is unaware of the Nexus. If you speak to Google, Google doesn't do devices in India. So you're sort of confused in terms of who is actually responsible for this device or who is sending you this device. Now, at the crux of it, LG and Google together are bringing this product, and technically both of them should be able to service it for you. But there are issues and people are still dealing with them. As far as the UI is concerned, a lot of people like the pure vanilla Android experience, but a lot of people also like features that you see on devices like the HTC phones or the Samsung phones that give you add-ons to the Android experience. So for example, on the Samsung Galaxy series, you get a lot of add-on features that allow you to utilize your phone a lot better. Your social feeds, a task manager, all these things are sort of built into those ecosystems. Of course, you can download a lot of software and third-party applications that do all of those things, but in most cases they run ads or are not free. With a company-made UI, you get a lot of more features. For example, Samsung ties in a lot of features in their TouchWiz UI. That being said, with a price difference of about 10,000 rupees, the Nexus 5 is possibly the best Android experience that you can get today. And at the price that it's currently available at, it's a win-win situation. The two downsides are the non-replaceable battery and the non-expandable storage. But if you go with the 32GB variant, and if you're not a hardcore user of the smartphone on a daily basis, I don't think you can go wrong with the Nexus 5. It'll keep you happy, it'll keep you going for the day, and it'll not disappoint you in terms of performance, in terms of lagging, or in terms of any sort of letdowns when it comes to the smartphone usage that you can get from a Nexus 5. So there you go, guys. For the 30,000 price bracket, the Nexus 5 has to be the best smartphone available today. You have a lot of other options in the market, of course, and you can take your pick in terms of design, in terms of user interface, in terms of flexibility, even in terms of service and support available in India. But as far as the pure Android experience is concerned, instant updates to Android OS is concerned, and the pure performance factor is concerned, the Nexus 5 cannot be beat. And that is our review of the new Nexus 5. If you have any questions or queries, you can read on the full details on iGyaan.in. You can also catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube for more reviews.